Maybe I'll try this one.
Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the Unangry Black Woman podcast. I am your host, the healing coach, Tiffany Fox. And the Unangry Black Woman podcast, we talk about real things, real conversation with real people. So the Unangry Black Woman podcast is a podcast, but it's a movement. I want to showcase and highlight the Black experience. I want us to get away from stereotypes and myths of the angry Black woman, the hostile, and I really want to create a safe space where we can learn from each other and really put our experience out there. So without further ado, our guest today is none other than Miss Tzeala Mclean. She's one of my closest friends since
1981,
yes. So that's an inside joke because we were both born in 81. Shout out to 81. Yes. But we have been friends actually since 2009, I
2009.
think. Yeah. Yep. So she has been through many life phases with me.
Girl.
Yeah. And so our conversations are real. At this point, you know, she's one of my best friends and there is no holds bars. We do life. And so I'm honored for her to be on the show today because we have these conversations in real life. And I'm like, we need the podcast. We need to be on the mic because people need to hear our conversations. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Did you want to introduce yourself to the people?
I am Tzeala Mclean. I've been her friend since 1981. And I'm just excited about being here, excited about your new podcast. This is going to be great.
Yes.
And I'm excited for us to talk about some things that we talk about privately.
Absolutely.
Publicly, because I'm sure other people share some of the same opinions and talk about these things more.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be here. So thank you for inviting me. Absolutely.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. All right. So without further ado, our topic today is colorism. So I know it's a sensitive subject, but we got to flush it out, guys, and we got to talk about our experience with colorism, what it is, what it isn't. And it's not happenstance that I invited Tzeala because this is a topic that she is passionate about. We have a lot of conversations about this, so it was only right to bring her on because I wanted someone not to bring me the textbook experience or explanation or definition, but I want to talk about lived experiences as a dark-skinned woman, and then I have an experience as a light-skinned woman. So it's divine that we're here, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. And, you know, with all the controversy with Love and Hip Hop, you know, with colorism being a hot topic or a buzzword in the media, I thought it's time to have this conversation now. So I'm going to let you start. Okay. What is colorism to you?
Wow. So colorism is, to me, when people treat people differently, or think differently, or have thinking differently. I guess being prejudiced or being a certain way towards people due to them being their color.
Okay.
That's what my definition of it was. And so just listen to me say their color, because I looked up the definition and it's a little bit different.
It was different? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So that's mine. So yeah.
What was the textbook definition that you looked at?
The textbook definition is it's a prejudice or discrimination against an individual with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group.
Okay.
So, being said, why I say color is because I thought that colorism goes for light skin or dark skin, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I thought that I could act a certain way towards you because you're light skinned.
Okay.
Didn't realize, and I've looked up, and everywhere I'm looking, that's where it's saying dark skin.
Okay.
So it was a little different from me because I just assumed, you know what I'm saying, I'm treating you based off of the color of your skin, whether you're dark or light, because I might feel some way about all light-skinned people.
Okay.
Or all dark-skinned, but it's not, so.
Okay.
That was a textbook.
So I get that because I think colorism lends to, for my definition, privilege for lighter skin. Mine is reverse racism. Reverse colorism when it leads to light skin. So it was the same as like the context of racism. So you got racism and then reverse racism.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your experience with colorism? What's your personal journey?
My personal experience from colorism. When she asked me about the topic, we actually haven't talked about this in a while though, which is besides when the Love and Hip Hop. So I've been doing good with that. From childhood, I don't think anybody had to say anything. I noticed things within my family. My family on my dad's side that I was raised with majority, my grandmother and my grandfather were dark skinned. Mm-hmm. But they have children different color. That's what happens with black people. You know, we can have light baby, genetics don't work, you know.
Right.
So, but I noticed the difference in certain family members being treated differently or looked at differently because of their skin tone. Growing up, I noticed people saying things about people's babies based off of their skin tone. Mm-hmm. But also, too, I noticed that people made these statements like, get out of the sun before you turn real black. Or, oh, I've been in the sun too long because I'm about to get black.
Like they want to get black.
No. Oh. Like black is a wrong thing. Let me get out the sun because I'm about to be real black.
Okay.
It was like the terminology was very negative. It wasn't like, oh, I'm being the sun, I'm going to get dark. And it was like the way they said black was an emphasis on it. Like you don't want to get too black. So from a childhood and growing up, I experienced that. I experienced it. I feel like in school, I experienced people being different towards me. I also feel like as an adult, I think I saw it more. I saw it within my family, but as an adult, I dated someone that I was engaged to. And he would let me know all the time that he does not really like dark-skinned women, even though I'm dark. And that he really dated light-skinned women. Went to his hometown, him and his friends and cousins. That's all they talked about was, oh, you got you a light one, you got you a good one. In front of me. Now, I know that sounds foolish that I dated somebody like that, but I was 25. Tiffany looking at me like, you dated him? I was engaged to him.
You better let him know.
So I was 25, first real love, first real relationship. I didn't know no better. I've dated men that make emphasis about a woman being lighter or a woman being Hispanic or a woman being something else besides black being better. I've heard men say that. I've been around men that I'm friends with, and they've made statements, oh, yeah, you got you a light one, that's a good one. And my face is just like, what? While I'm sitting right here. And I don't even know if people are aware that they're saying those things. Mm-hmm. I think possibly up until recently, I probably didn't even pay attention that the impact it played on what I thought about myself and how I felt about myself.
Let's talk about it.
So, yeah.
So how did it make you feel about you?
I think it made me feel like I was less worthy of like somebody being attracted to me. Mm-hmm. I thought that, especially with black men who I love, I was always gonna be second best.
Okay.
I don't feel like that now, but I think like going through her telling me, about this topic and thinking about it and thinking about what I was gonna talk about today. That kind of came to mind that, like, it really did play, let me say this, it played a part in, I think, of what I thought about myself and other people around me. I had a friend one time tell me, I was sending her pictures. She's like, everybody you think is pretty is light. And I didn't even pay attention to that. She was like, why is everybody you think is pretty is light? It was a friend of mine that's Hispanic, actually, that said it to me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, interesting.
So do you think that light is better?
I don't.
Okay.
But I think that subconsciously in my mind, something was making me feel like that was prettier.
Okay.
Maybe not better, but prettier.
Prettier.
Or what the standard of what beauty is, maybe.
So do you think that way now?
I don't.
Okay.
Okay. But I think that I was thinking that when she said it, I was like, what? She's like, every single girl that you send me a picture of that you think is pretty is light-skinned. I was like, wow.
So my experience with colorism probably didn't come into play until probably my adult years. So as a kid, growing up in Buffalo, New York, I went to a Catholic school where it was predominantly white. And so I think subconsciously for me, my battle was being black, right? So it didn't matter light skin, dark skin. My mother is light skin and my father is dark skin. So I didn't, think of, and in our family, we just got all different colors. So I don't think we got treated any different because of, our complexions. But I think my fight growing up was constantly just being black. And so it wasn't, I moved to the South in 2005. And so it wasn't until I got here that I really started to see some remnants of it. And then our friendship, you telling me, can I be honest? You telling me like, oh, because for me, it's always been fighting the black card, just being black, not even. And so there could have been preferential treatment because I was lighter skinned, but I wouldn't have known because I'm black.
You was focused on being a black person.
Right.
That was all. Like, I'm going to be heard and I'm black and you're going to treat me with respect, yeah.
But in this field, as meeting different women and hearing that that's a real experience that they have, and it shaped how they looked at themselves, because you aren't the first woman, of course, to say that. Now I'm a little bit more sensitive, to it. And then, like you said, other people. So I don't think, now sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I think people pull the colorist card too often. There was an incident, I think, on Basketball Wives, and, the minute a light-skinned person says something, and it's been my experience, the light-skinned person says something, the dark-skinned person feels it's an attack because,
I agree.
Right? So sometimes I think we're a little oversensitive, but it does exist. But I think whether you're a colorist or not, you can perpetuate colorism.
I agree.
And so when you talk about, men and their preferences, I need a foreign, I want to, this, while, okay, they might not be saying it's better, and they might not even want to marry. They may just want to experience that type of, culture. It does lend to, this is your fantasy and this isn't.
Yeah.
Comments like, you're cute for a dark-skinned girl, or, so those comments perpetuate colorism.
Yeah.
So, I totally agree with you, but I think sometimes we're a little sensitive too. And I just think as a generation, as a culture completely, we are extra sensitive. But sometimes I think because light-skinned people say stuff, we take offense to it, or we automatically put it in the colorism box. Let's talk about reverse colorism for a moment. So with that, I know a lot of light-skinned people, a lot of people with mixed races who have lighter hues and lighter tones. They fight being black enough.
I agree.
So I think they get the struggle, or they get the brunt of being black enough. And we all know where colorism started. It started from slavery. What I did learn about colorism, though, is it does exist among other cultures.
It does not stop with us and African Americans.
Yeah.
It does
and so
not
it's
stop.
I've read Native Americans, South Asia.
Yep.
Latinos, absolutely. So it's just not a black thing, y'all.
Yep.
It is across cultures. But we know how it started with us, because the preferential treatment, the house slave was typically light skinned, field slave was dark skinned, and it was different treatment. But let's talk about reverse racism. Colorism. I keep saying racism because that's my fight, y'all. That's my fight. Right. But colorism. But at the end of the day, the light-skinned person sometimes has to fight, one, being black, right? Two, being black enough. And three, extra cautious that I'm not saying the wrong thing to offend my kind because I'm light-skinned. And I think we don't lend enough to that part either. I know the show Blackish.
Oh, I love that show.
It was a great episode between Rainbow and then the mom, and they talked about their experiences with being light-skinned and brown-skinned. So I think that was amazing. Question for you. So we talked about these men you dated. Can we go there? Can we go?
Yeah,
can we be
can.
transparent? All right. So we talked about the men that you dated. Would you date them again now?
Can I cuss?
Sure. Why does everybody ask that on this show?
Hell
Y'all
no.
know we cuss in real life.
Hell no. Hell no. No, I would not date them because I have evolved a lot. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay.
For me evolving. I'm a different person than I was last year. So I wouldn't date somebody that I dated last year.
You said you ain't going backwards, huh?
Not going back, because who I am right now, they couldn't handle it. But for real, I wouldn't date them because I'm at a different place. I love myself. I like myself. Whether I'm fat, skinny, dark, short, black, white, I love who I am right now. And I love who I'm becoming. And whoever's going to be with me, they're going to have to like who I am right now. Right now. I may change, or things may get better or worse or whatever, but they're going to have to like the Tzeala they see right now.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I should have to be in competition from some woman from your past or your mama, because that was an issue too, because my mama light skinned. That's pretty. My mama beautiful. You know, we can get into the Oedipus. Is it the Oedipus complex is what that is? With that, yeah.
Next show, next episode.
Sorry, look. But yeah, so I'm just not going to do that. I hope the person that I'm talking about will probably see this because they're my Facebook friend.
Okay.
Which is fine. But yeah, definitely I would not date them. It ain't even about the colorism. It's a lot of other stuff. But I just don't want that battle. I don't want that battle. I don't want to battle with somebody or feel like that's not something. Relationships are already hard. That's not something that I want to have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna go a layer deeper.
Okay, go ahead. Layers.
So everybody has a preference.
Okay.
Okay. So would you agree that you have a preference in the type of man that you
Are you asking me, do I agree, or you asking me, do you agree if I have a preference?
No. I'm asking, do you have a preference of the physique or physical man, and then the heart of the man that you want?
My friends, Tiffany, think I got a certain type.
Do you have a type? Do you have a preference?
I do have a preference.
Pause.
Go ahead.
So if said man that was interested in you, right, really liked you, but his preference is light skin, would you date him?
I would date him if he was mature enough to not keep reminding me that I'm dark. That's my issue. You got to remind me that I'm dark skinned, and you usually don't date dark skinned women. Why are we talking about, you know what I'm saying? Talking about that. Like, why is that even a conversation to keep having? That was the issue.
Okay.
Because I do think people are entitled to their preferences. For real.
Okay.
And I think there have been men that have dated me. I was not their preference. It might have been because the way I love or how great of a person I am, you know, my personality is great, that they fell for me or whatever, or like me for the moment. But that's true, I could, but I just don't, that's not something I want to hear every time.
Okay.
I usually only like Hispanics, or I only usually like light-skinned women. But I'm going to talk to you like I'm second best or something, you know.
Okay.
That's my issue. So,
but he can have his preference.
Yeah, anybody can have their preference. So I want you to be with who you want to be with.
Just don't remind you.
Why would you keep reminding me that over and over again? I mean, I just think like it starts to be like, are you really wanting to be with me, or are you really just wanting to keep reminding me?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
I just
me.
wanted to be clear for the listeners out there.
That's just me. Somebody will probably get on here and argue about what I'm saying, I'm sure.
It's all right. We'll bring them on the show. We'll bring them on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just
speak my truth, yeah.
So what would you tell anyone who is in an identity crisis due to colorism?
This is funny that you said that. This morning I went to Waffle House.
Shout out to Waffle House.
I know, and the girl was in there with her head down, dark-skinned, young black girl with her head down, and I looked at her and I smiled. And she looked at me and smiled, but it was like funny. So when I got up to the register, I said, I smiled at you because you wasn't smiling, and I don't think you know how beautiful you are. And she was like, and she just smiled. I said, you got pretty skin, you a pretty girl, you young, you woke up today, you blessed. So I would just pour into that person. I remember having a child that was in foster care, a girl. She had to been like 14 or 15, was pregnant, and she was on the floor crying about how she hated that she was dark and she hoped her baby ain't dark. That thing hurt my heart. And no matter how beautiful we told her she was, she didn't see that. I think it's harder now because this generation has social media, and we're going to probably talk about that.
Yeah.
Media plays a part in what we think is beautiful and what we don't. It's forced upon us what image looks like, what's beautiful and what's not.
I agree.
And so I would just pour into that person. I mean, that's the only thing I think you can do, because it just depends on where you are emotionally. People, you know, my friends tell me stuff about me, and I might be like, whatever. because that's not what I feel. So
Right.
it's just like I would just pour into that person and keep encouraging them, because I feel like that's the same way you can tear somebody down all the time and make them feel a certain way. You can build them up to get them to feel a certain way about themselves. Point out the good stuff about them.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Do you think men, black men in particular, experience colorism?
Yes.
She was confident in that.
Yeah, I've heard I hear black men be like, they don't like me because I ain't light skinned guys. I'm like, what? Or I'm not light skinned. I'm like light skinned men in. I'm like, why are we? What? I don't know. I'm just at this place in my life. I'm
Light
like,
skinned man was in though.
Oh,
back,
was they?
Back in the day? Yeah, that
like
was.
Christopher Williams.
Yeah,
and
you
people like that.
you know that the
I
New
know
Jack
that because-
City,
I know that
the New
because-
Jack
I
swing
knew that
era.
because I seen like memes about that light skin when light skin men.
You know they had the little
lines.
know.
Yeah, I did used to like from Crisscross. I like the light skin.
See,
I know.
see,
Yeah.
colorist. See,
Yeah, probably was and didn't even know it. I was like, I remember I used to be like, they gotta be light skinned with a box. If they don't got no
See?
box and they ain't
See?
light skinned, I ain't want like if they didn't have a box, I didn't want to be whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I do think men have to experience that too. I do. I think amongst black people we experience it. Period. I think that we just, even with you talking about, I wanted to talk more about you with the light skin or mixed race black people, especially women. I haven't heard that much about men, but I've heard women had to fight every day.
oh yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
girls jump them.
Yeah.
It's sad because they're light skinned. Oh, she thinks she's pretty because her hair long. And I just want to go to school and hang out with everybody. So that's why I thought colorism, the definition was
right.
about color. I didn't think it was about dark skin. But I guess it is reverse colorism.
It is.
But yeah,
It is.
it's sad that as a people, we got a big enough fight to fight already.
Right.
That we got to worry about the color of our skin and not the content of who we are as a person.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, it makes me sad. Yeah.
I remember at the time, again, as a kid, I had no idea what colorism was, but at the time I remember being jumped by a group of girls because, I thought at the time because I was a new girl, but it was because I was light skin, long hair, things like that. But no, I totally agree. I think we don't talk enough about the reverse colorism. And we hear Amber Rose tell her story about, and I know a lot of mixed kids say, who do I identify with? I'm not black enough, but my white, side or my other side feels like, oh, you black. And so it is a struggle. It is a struggle. And then do you tell the light-skinned girl to turn her light down because the world says she's something that she's not trying to be?
Yeah, she's just trying to be herself and live every day. Yeah.
She's just trying to be
She'll
black.
think she better than nobody else. Exactly. You're right.
So, but yeah, awesome. What would you tell the men of our culture?
About colorism?
How to be more sensitive towards their remarks. And
Do not tell a dark-skinned woman that you're pretty to be dark-skinned. Do not tell a light-skinned woman with your high yellow self. Keep reminding them that they like. They already know they like. They don't need to hear that their whole life. With your white self and your how you red, you a red bone. They don't need to hear that.
it was a guy the other day I went to an event and he said I was rooting for Buffalo Bills and he said, shout out to the Buffalo Bills. But he said, you acting real light skinned right now.
Yeah.
I said, you gonna be on the podcast because, but stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? What does that mean? What does that
Yeah.
even mean, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
got you.
So I agree. I think that that's just what I think. I think men need to be sensitive to that. I think they need to be. I don't need you to keep telling me how dark I am. You dark. You a chocolate black chocolate. Well, I don't need you to tell her light skin. Because I have a friend that's light skinned, and she does not want to hear that.
That what?
That she's light skinned. Like she don't need nobody to keep reminding her that she's light skinned all the time.
Oh, okay.
You light, bright. You white. You a white girl. All this stuff. No, just compliment the person on who they are.
Absolutely.
Like, aren't we bigger than that now?
We have we take questions from production.
Okay.
So we'll.
What does production got to say?
Question is colorism spectrum. So, for example, New Jack City, Wesley Snipes, dark skin men in. You know what I'm saying? More chestnuts, and then you know what I'm saying? Y'all heard the term dark skin is in. You know what I'm saying? Like
Production wasn't paying attention.
So, go ahead. You won't have to ask the question again because they probably can't.
So we actually just talked about that. We talked about light-skinned men being in, and do we feel like men experience colorism? So the question from production was, what do we tell? Do women objectify men based on color? i.e. New Jack City, i.e. Morris Chestnut, i.e.
I'm sorry,
dark
because
skin
I
are
feel bad because
in.
she looking at me because she know I don't make statements. Because the last person I dated, I was like, he was light skinned. I don't usually like light skinned dudes. So that was wrong.
We getting real.
of me
We getting real.
to say that. He was a great person. We just didn't work. And I've
'Cause he
dated
was
another light
light-skinned?
skinned. You remember the last person I dated?
No, I say we didn't work because he was light skinned.
No, it wasn't because he was light
okay.
skinned. It's just because
Okay.
he had other stuff. But he was a
okay.
great person. Stuff just don't work for people sometimes. But I do have to stop saying that because you're absolutely right, Kenyon. I said right, production. Sorry, production, cut that. You're absolutely right that we do sometimes. So you do it because I see memes where they be like, if you light skinned, that's what you do. And they might have Prince laying on the floor. Light skinned, it be stuff like that.
It does.
So we do need to work on that as people.
And then
period. Yeah.
if we're staying on the men and colorism, light skinned men are depicted as more softer.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. You're absolutely
than
right.
dark skinned men, right?
Yeah.
And we all know that's not true.
The 2 light skinned men I dated wasn't soft at all. I'm sorry. Good gracious. I want them to take some of that aggressiveness down. I don't. I say that I won't date a light skinned man, but everybody know I love Chris Brown.
What's your preference?
My preference ain't about light skin or dark skin. My preference
Good
is
answer.
bald head, taller, usually with a beard. That's usually what I like. That's about it. It don't really got nothing to do with the color, but as my friends would say.
Production is side eyeing you over here.
But my friend would say something different. She would
we
say,
know
"Gotta
we
be a
know the
jerk."
truth. We know the truth.
But yeah, that's. But she knows that I'm like, I like somebody new, and I show she was like, he looked like all the rest of me. Got a bald head, he got a
Same
beard.
type,
Look, that's about
same
it. But
type.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's all.
awesome.
But no, I don't think that. But I do think that it's got to be equal as women and men. You know, we can't be saying light skinned men are soft. Mm-hmm. We can't be saying that light skinned women or mixed race women think they're better or wanting to fight them or mad or jealous of them because they just were born that way. Nobody can control that. Just the same as we can't say to dark skin, you're so pretty to be dark. You're really pretty to be dark. As though like being dark is not pretty. Or we got to work on saying, let me get out this sun if I get real black. Okay, if you get black, what's going to happen? You're a black
and it's
person.
funny because a lot of people are tanning or want to go tanning.
It's
so
the craziest thing.
the
Yeah.
things that we don't like sometimes,
Others
other cultures,
love it.
yeah,
They
they
trying to
love
embrace
it
it.
and
Yeah.
try to embrace it. So yeah,
Definitely.
Well, Miss Tzeala, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to Drake and Chris Brown. I love you guys. Y'all are very talented.
Drake, Chris Brown, we want you on the show.
So if you hear this, just ignore me. I'm just saying stuff. Sorry. Chris Brown, I love you, baby. You know that, right?
Thank you all again for tuning into another episode of The Unangry Black Woman. I am your host, your healing coach. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was informational. I hope that you take this topic and you bring it into your own living room and have your own conversations. We'll be back soon with another exciting episode for you all. But until then, we cannot control how life shows up, but we can control how we show up in life. All right, y'all, be great.